Hey guys, welcome in. Kieran, Katrina, Marcin, what's the crack? Hey Kieran, what's the crack?
Hiya Niall, how are you?
What's the story?
Oh, not too bad. Bad hips, that's why I'm here.
I could have guessed.
How are you getting on?
Not too bad. All good, man. We're having a bad hip convention here.
Yeah.
70 like-minded.
How many have you?
There's 70 signed up, but 70 won't turn up.
Yeah.
People just sign up, but I'll be sending the recording out, so people will
Fair play to you.
catch on there. Yeah, I actually, do you know what? I'm not working at the minute, so I had to force myself to do something productive. I was like, do you know what? I'll get all the knowledge of hips that I know, and I was doing a few courses and stuff, and I was like, right, I'll just put all this knowledge together and try and
Fair play.
make it digestible.
Are you going into primary teaching?
Yeah, well, that's the plan.
Yeah. Rick Farrell is a friend of mine. He was.
Yeah. Where do you teach yourself?
Yeah, in Ashburn.
Oh, cool. In what's the Declan's, is it?
I'm in the other one. Yeah, my wife is in Declan's. I'm in St Mary's. So.
Right, very good. Yeah, no, the plan is to go do Hibernia, but I just keep putting it off. It's 15 grand.
Worth it. Long term. Think long term.
I know. I just have to get 15 grand first. I'll give us a few minutes. Just anyone who's in there already, make sure you'll need a pillow or two pillows or yoga blocks if you have them. You will need either like a brush or like a broomstick. One of them for balance. And that's it. That's all you're going to need, guys. Right, guys, you know what? We'll get started. I was saying to Kieran there, we had 77. I had 77 register on Google Forms, and we've got 6 here, or 7 here, and it goes to show you that people hold great value to money. If I had a charged €20 for this, I bet you all 77 of them would turn up. So I suppose there's a lot to be said for doing things for money. But I was saying to Kieran, I really enjoyed doing this because I was bringing loads of bits and pieces from a load of different courses together. There's Jack. Bring a load of different pieces from different courses to try and make this. So what I'm going to do is I'll share my screen, and I just have a bit of a presentation to show you. I'll talk through it, and then we'll get moving. Where is this now? Okay, There we go. Can just give me a thumbs up there if you can see that? Yeah, cool. Right, so just to start, we're just going to do just a 2-minute body scan just to bring us in here, and you'll see why now in a while why that's important. So just sit whatever way is comfortable, lie down on your back and just close your eyes. And just tune in with your breath. Just notice if you're breathing through your nose or your mouth. Feel the sensation of the air as it comes in, and the sensation as it goes out. Notice how your belly or your chest rises with each breath in, falls with each breath out. Just bring your awareness to any sensation in your feet. On your next exhale, bring your awareness to the sensation in your left leg. On your next exhale, your right leg. Your hips. And just focus in your tension around the hips, what it is you're feeling, or where you're feeling it. And then just notice if there's any emotion attached to the sensation. Just take 2 in breaths to finish. So an inhale and an exhale. One more. And we're here. Right. So, welcome. Let me see. I won't even check who's here. So basically what we're going to go over here is a bit of theory on the movements that your hip do. We're going to go over how your internal and your external environments can affect your hips. Some of them might be a bit far out, but there's science behind it. And even if there's not science behind it, logical thinking, or if you're in tune with yourself, it does make sense. So why are hips important there? These are all the sports that I got. Was GA, soccer, rugby, triathlon, dance, and martial arts, and they all involve the movements of the hip. So to have good hip mobility is very, very important, and not even that hip mobility, it's hip strength as well. And I have there at the top, surgery rates have gone up. So I was looking at a study where it said between 2007 and 2014, hip surgery went up by 400%, right? So that's 7 years ago. Between 2014 and 2021, another 7 years, my guess is the surgery has still gone up. So you're looking up in 2007, surgery gone up by about maybe 500, 600, 700%, which is crazy. And some of the reasons that's down to is overload on amateur athletes, definitely increased numbers of young people going to the gym, and then lifestyle habits. So the amount of time we're sitting down, the amount of time we're driving. So all of these factors are contributing to our bad hips, because we're not designed to have bad hips. If we had bad hips back, 5, 6, 7,000 years ago, when boys were out hunting and gathering, we'd be left behind. Okay, so we're not designed to have bad hips, but there definitely is a way of addressing them. From my personal perspective, I've had really bad issues, not last year because I took a year of football, the year before, with my hip, to the point where I actually couldn't walk for about 2 or 3 days. We were playing Kerry in the last match of the Super 8s, And for 2 days before that, I actually couldn't walk. My hip was that bad. And that was down to years of poor training as a teenager, a foot injury, and overloading my hip. So I just didn't know. So it took rest and right training to get it right. And now I'm playing without any niggles in my hip. So let me see. So what we cover, we don't need that. Right. So I'm going to talk really quickly about how our internal environment can affect our hips. So like I said, this might be a little bit far out, but there's a lot of science behind it. So our internal environment is our emotions, our feelings, our needs, our wants, our desires, and our external environment is work, is sleep, is how we move. So that's our external environment, what's outside, what's inside. So internally, if you think of, I have it there, think of your jaw, your heart, and your stomach. So if you think if you have a tense jaw, what emotion comes to your mind if you have a tense jaw? Probably it's going to be anger. Okay, so when people are angry, you have a tense jaw. If you are afraid or nervous of something, people often get butterflies. So they have a sensation in their stomach. Or if you feel love, you have a sensation in your heart. So there's the mind is thinking. The thoughts affect your emotions, and your emotions affect how you feel. So on a more subtle level, this can transmute down then into our hips or different parts of our body. So if you're familiar at all with any of the chakra systems, or if you think that's a whole a load of codswallop, that's fine. But look at them from rational point of view in terms of the first chakra would be safety and security. So if you have problems around your hips, it's going to be your first and second chakra. So I have there safety and security. So that could be financial, which, you know, all of us deal with financial security at some stage. Survival, which is being a part of a tribe. Who do I belong to? Who are my family? Do I have friends? And then am I physically safe? So if at any stage at all during your life you weren't physically safe, be it in a relationship or some sort of abuse or something like that, that will have its part to play. Okay, and that you know, you're not going to fix that now, but that will take therapy or you just looking deep into it. The second one then is emotional balance and then sexuality. So shame around sexuality is a big one for both men and women. Repressed sexual needs. So you often find people who are not, or who are afraid to come out and stuff like that. It's a huge thing for tension and emotions to be held in the hips. Balance between masculine and feminine. Yeah, so that's basically it. I don't know if any of you've ever been to a yoga class before, but I've been to a few when I first started going to yoga, and it happened twice over 4 years when I was in college, where once it was a man and once it was a woman who just got up in the middle of the yoga class and started bawling their eyes crying and left. And from speaking to the yoga teacher, she had said that it happens quite a bit, where when you're in a deep hip stretch position, be it hip flexors or your, you know, the pigeon pose for your glutes, that it can release trapped emotions and people can just start crying, or people can get angry or release some sort of emotion. So it's not uncommon for this to happen. So there is just a couple of points for you. If you've got chronic hip pain and you're constantly stretching and doing your strength work, it's not happening, perhaps look to the internal environment. External then is I'm going to send this out to you so you can just read them afterwards, okay, and answer these questions yourselves. But little things like, how do you sit? What do you sit on? How do you stand? How do you sleep? If you sleep on your side, do you sleep with a pillow between your legs, or do you sleep with two pillows behind your head? Because changing your head position, as when you sleep, you're sleeping for 8 hours a night, that's going to change the position of your hips then. So it's going to affect that. Yeah, and then do you have training aids like a mat or something? So if you're like, oh, I want to stretch, but I don't have a yoga mat, you know, it might help just to get a yoga mat or to get over that and use, I don't know, a rug or something. So I'm not going to go too deep into this. I'm going to send this to you. You can read that yourself. Okay, brilliant. So we're going to look at how our internal environment can affect our body. So I want you to stand up. We're going to do a mind stretch here now. How do I stop sharing that? Brilliant. So this was performed on me by a fella called Derek Byrne. And basically I thought he was having me on when you don't, but I've tried it a few times and I tried it on my mother and it works. So basically What you're going to do is you're going to bring your 2 feet together. You're going to hold your thumb up, so whatever thumb you want. Keep both feet flat on the ground. And what you're going to do is you're going to twist to your left or to your right, all the way around until you can't go anymore. When you get around there, just pick something on the wall to see how far you get. So just try and push it as far as you can get without hurting yourself or without lifting your feet. Take a note of where you are and come back around. And lower your hand down. Okay, now close your eyes. In your mind's eye, visualize yourself raising that arm up. Just visualize it. Lifting the thumb. Now I want you to visualize and go in the same way. See it in your mind. You go by all the things that you've seen. So I have 2 posters, the clock, all the way around. Visualize the point in the wall that you got to. Feel the sensation in your body of the twist. Now see yourself going further beyond the point that you had previously reached. Now in your mind, just bring yourself back to the start. And you're going to do it in your mind one more time. So raise your arm up, point the thumb, twist around, get to the point that you got the first time, go beyond it. Feel it, really feel the twist in your spine and your hips. You go beyond it 6 inches, hold it there, you feel your body's relaxed. Slowly come back around. Now for real, lift your thumb up and begin to twist. And come back around. Give me a thumbs up if you got further. I got further. Yeah, okay. So there's how our internal environment can affect our external environment. So if I go around telling myself all the time, my hips are crocked, I'm so unflexible, I can't do this, I can't do that. You are just feeding that thought. So remember what I said earlier, our thoughts affect our emotions and our emotions affect our body. So there's just one quick example. I'm pretty sure that works every single time. And yes, I've tried it where I do it the second time and you get a little bit further, but when you do the visualization, you get much further. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a couple of hip tests now and get into some stretching. So we've done 15 minutes there. We'll do 45 minutes. If an hour is okay with you, I'll do an hour. So let's go. Lie down on your back. Have your pen and piece of paper close by so that you can jot down notes. So if you find that you're tight somewhere, I'll tell you what you're stretching. You can just write it down really quickly so that you'll know there's no need for you to be stretching your hip flexors if they're not tight. So which one? A Thomas test. All right. This one is for, we'll go hip flexors first. So lying on your back, I want you to hug your right knee into your chest. Now, I want you to observe your left leg. What's it doing? If you can keep your left leg straight on the ground, okay, without forcing it, your hip flexors on this left side are going to be okay. But if you notice that your knee is up like this, off the ground, the hip flexors here on this left side are going to be tight. So that's for you to observe then, okay? So hugging the right knee. If you notice now, let's go to the other side. Hug the left leg. You have the right leg straight. If you notice a difference, jot that down, okay? So there, this is our Thomas test. This is for our hip flexors. If you're noticing now that you can't actually hug your knee into your chest on the left side, that's going to be your glutes that are reflecting here. So your tight glutes. So if you're really struggling with that, you jot that down. So go to the right one again to make sure. So just say you're only getting to here. It could be your glutes that are inhibiting you. Next one is you're going to lie on your back and you're going to lift your knees up to 90 degrees and have your feet at 90 degrees. So what we're doing is internal and external rotation. So I'll show you from the front. So you're going to lift your feet up and you're going to internally rotate your hip. So that means bringing your feet out. And just notice how far each foot gets. So if your right is going further than your left, that means you've got an issue on your left side. So just notice that. Is there a difference between left and right? Notice, is there any sensation, pinching or tightness in your hip? Very good. Good internal rotation is about 40 degrees. All right, so if you're getting less than 40 degrees, it's something we'll work on. External rotation. Okay, yeah. For external rotation now, you're going to lie on your back, bend your knees in. You're going to go with our right leg first. So pick your right leg up off the ground, bring it to the 90-90 position. This time, you're going to bring your foot inwards, so twisting at the knee. Without using your hands, you're going to try and bring your foot inwards and land it this side of your knee, on top of your quad muscle. So this is internal rotation. If you can make it to your knee here, your internal rotation is going to be okay. But if you're only getting to here and you're really struggling, then that's something you need to work on. So then go on the other side. Lift that left knee up. Twist that foot inwards to try and bring it down. You can see there, I'm struggling with this one. I had a match last night and was very tight my left hip. Drop down. So I'll give you 2 seconds there if you wrote down any notes. So hip flexors was the first one. Second one was internal rotation. And this one was external rotation. So if any of those were tight, I'd write them down. We'll go for the grinds now. Lying flat. You're going to bring your left foot, the outside of your left foot, up on top of your knee and let your knee fall out. You're lying like this. Your hips are flat on the ground and you're just going to use your left hand to push that left leg down to the ground. If you feel big tightness on the inside of your hip here, on the inside of your left hip, they're your groin muscles, your adductors, they're going to be tight. Okay, so if they're tight, that's something for you to work on. We're just going over a test here so you know what to stretch. Now go to the other side and notice any imbalances if there is. All right. Yes, and then we're going to go for hip flexion. So grab your stick or your broom if you have it and stand up. So one of the muscles that can affect the position of our hip. So if you look at me here from the side, this is anterior pelvic tilt, where you've got your bum is sticking out, you have an arch in your back. This is the posterior pelvic tilt. A lot of us are in an anterior pelvic tilt where our hips tilt forward. And what that can cause is pinching in the front of the hip. And that can be due to shortness here on the front of our quads, okay, and weak hamstrings. So we're just going to test our hamstrings here. So grab your stick, hold one hand on top, and the other hand on the bottom. You're going to hold the stick to your bum, the middle of your back, and the top of your head. Feet are about hip distance apart. And as if you're bowing to someone, you're going to push your bum back, keep your head, your back, and your bum touching the stick. Keep your knees straight, and you're just going to hinge forward. And just see how far you can get. If you can get to about 100 degrees, so this is 90 degrees with a straight back, if you can get to about here, your hamstrings are going to be okay. But if you're stopping up here, you need to work on your hamstrings. So ideally, you want 90 degrees, your head is touching, your back's not rounding like this, straight back. If that's a struggle for you, you need to work on your hamstrings. And last test, we're just going to go into a resting squat, okay? You can lift your heels for this one to take your ankles out of it. What I want you to do is just see if you can sit down into a resting squat and notice how that feels. If when you lift your heels up off the ground, that helps and you don't feel any tightness here, what's affecting you there is only your ankles, and it's not your hips then. So these are things that you can assess. If you look from the side there, you can see I have a little round in my back, but if I lift the heels up, I'm fine there. Okay, so the problem's not the hips, it's the ankles in that one. So let's get started. We're going to start with hip tilting. Come into a tabletop position. Hands are underneath your shoulders, knees are underneath your hips. So one of the movements I talked about was tilting the pelvis back and forward. So imagine that your pelvis is the bucket of water. If you tilt it, you're emptying the water out. When you tuck it, you're flattening the bucket. So we're going to do that here on our hands. And I have this here. I just have a bottle just to demonstrate. So what you're going to do is you're going to try and arch your back. Make a big arch in your back. Try and locate it down in your lower back. I have a bottle here. Then what you're going to try and do is you're going to try and round your back. And as I'm rounding, that bottle should fall off. I want you to practice a few of these and try and just locate it in your hips as opposed to moving your whole back. And the reason this is important is awareness for how you're standing during the day, the position of your hips when you're doing certain exercises like squatting, lunging, but it's also important for our stretches. So let's just do a couple of rounds of this, trying to loosen out the lower back. If this is something that you're struggling with, again, with anything in this, just take a note of it. If you're not sure, take a video and send it to me. Right, good stuff. So from here, I want you to just come down. I'm going to come into the 90-90 position. I want to start doing a bit of work on the hips to loosen them out. So the 90-90 position is where you're sitting and you've got your right leg here. So we'll go with our right leg in front. Our right leg is at a 90-degree angle and our left leg is at a 90-degree angle behind. If you're struggling to sit up like this, what you can do is use your yoga block or your pillow and just sit it underneath your right bum cheek so that you're sitting more upright if you're really struggling there. If you need two pillows, use two pillows. It doesn't really matter. If you're struggling with this, to sit like this, it's your groins on your left side that's stopping you. So what we're going to do is we're going to be stretching over this front leg. But to begin, what you're going to do is push this right knee and right heel down into the ground for 5 seconds. So push it for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Relax. Put your hand on top of your leg now and try and lift this leg off the ground, but push your hand down for 5 seconds. So lift for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Take a big inhale, and on your exhale, fold your chest over that front leg, trying to keep the back straight, try not to round it. When you reach your point of tightness, stay there. We're going to use the breath to calm our mind. Like I said earlier, our internal environment, our external environment. So if we keep the breath calm, relax the mind. So now what I want you to do is you're going to push that right leg down into the ground again for 5. So let's go. Push for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and straight away try to go a little bit further into the stretch. And relax, breathe. Now you're going to try and lift your foot up. So lift it for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Relax. And lean forward. Now when you're trying to lift it, you're not going to be able to lift it, but it's the idea, sending the brain-body signal to activate the muscles around there. And the way this stretching works, we can just hold it here, stretching here. This is called PNF stretching. The way this stretching works is you're sending a signal to your brain that it's okay for the muscles to activate here. And once you relax it, the nervous system just switches off for a second and you can sink deeper into the stretch. So it's relaxing your mind. So we're going to do this one more time. Push your foot down into the ground as hard as you can for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. On your next exhale, lean deeper into the stretch. And hold. When you're ready, come back up. We're going to stay in this exact same position. You're going to push your left toe into the ground and you're going to lift your left knee. So if you need a block or something to put your hands on, you can do so. So push your left toe into the ground, lift that left knee, keep the body upright. You'll feel a stretch on the inside of your adductor here. Raise it down. On your next exhale, so inhale, exhale, lift the knee, hold it up there. Use your left hand, bring it inside your knee just to hold it. Now you're going to push your knee down into your hand to create a little bit of tension inside your groin here. So push the knee down for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Relax and try pull it up a little bit deeper. Lower the knee down to the ground. Lift it back up to the point where you feel the stretch. If you feel any pinching or pain at all, just ease back off because you may have like a hip impingement or something. So when you get to the point of your stretch, we're going to do the PNF. So push your knee into your hand, push it down for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And on the exhale, just push it a little bit further back. And lower it down. From here, this time what you're going to do is push your knee into the ground and lift your left heel. So when you're ready, push the left knee into the ground and lift this left heel up off the ground. Keep your body upright. Hold it up for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and lower. This is internal rotation of the hip. So these are your glute med and your TFL here on the left. They might be cramping, that's fine. Lift the left heel. For 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and down. You can close your eyes for this one. Visualize you lifting your foot an inch or 2 higher. See that foot going higher. And lift. Keep the body upright. And lower down. So if you're feeling any cramping in that area, that's a sign that you just need to work on that area. So that's good that you know that. So we're going to transition into the other side through a 90-90 position. So as best and as controlled as you can, you're going to lift your knees off the ground, and then you're just going to fall over onto the other side. So get yourself set up in this position. Your chest is parallel with this kind of front leg. So you're looking over your front leg, which is your left leg. Again, if you need something under your left hip, use it. Take a big inhale, and on your exhale, just come forward ever so slightly, trying to keep this lower back straight. And now we're going to do our PNF stretch. So I won't count you in this time. I'll just tell you what to do. So you're going to push that left foot down into the ground and the left knee. 5. On your exhale, sink a bit deeper into the stretch. This time you're going to lift up for 5. Lift. And on your exhale, sink a bit deeper. Hold it here, relax into the stretch. Notice, is there any tension somewhere else in your body? Be it your jaw, your stomach, your hands, your feet. Are you clenching anywhere? Are you holding on to anything? Are you gripping with your hands? All that's a form of tension. So when you're ready, Push the left foot down into the ground again. For 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and instantly sink a bit deeper. Lift it this time. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then sink a little bit deeper. Just open the window there, it's getting hot. And when you're ready, we'll come back up. So we're going to push that right toe into the ground and lift the left knee, or right knee, sorry. So keeping the body upright, lift that right knee up. Bring that right hand in on the knee. Create a little bit of tension for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Relax, pull it up a bit. We're going to sync this with our breath. So when you're doing the contraction, you're breathing in, and when you're doing the relaxation, you're breathing out. So inhale for 5, contract. Exhale. Right. And relax that down. Push the right knee into the ground, lift the right heel. So lift the right heel for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and down. I'm going to do 3 of these. Lift the right heel for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and down. Last one. Lift for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and down. Swing around and we'll come into a bear sit. It's basically the middle of the 1990 here. I'm going to use a pillow to prop myself up. So when you're sitting in this bear sit, just make sure that your spine is up nice and straight, like this. Okay, if I got rid of this pillow, I'm just struggling. I have a little bit of a lower back bend there. So it's ideal to keep an upright spine here. So you're going to grab the insides of your ankles. Your arms are inside your knees. You're going to use your hands to pull yourself upright nice and straight. And you should feel a bit of a stretch on the inside of your groins when you straighten up that pelvis. So if you need 2 pillows, 3 pillows, use them. We want a neutral pelvis for this from the back. Now what I want you to do is I want you to squeeze your elbows into your knees. And your knees into your elbows for 5 on an inhale. And on your exhale, just push those knees out a bit further. We're going to hold the stretch here for a minute. So the reason why we're doing stretching and strengthening exercises is because stretching will help loosen it up, but strengthening the muscles like we were doing there in the 1990 position, that's going to help us recorrect any, what's the word enough for anatomical dysfunctions or anything like a forward tilting hip. We're going to do this one more time. Squeeze the knees into the arms. You can squeeze quite hard on this one. This is safe. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and relax. So again, if our external environment isn't helping our hips are going to be weak as well. So we need to strengthen them. And relax. So there's not going to be much of a flow to this class. It's not much of a yoga class. It's more of a learning. So excuse that. So we're going to come onto our knees. And we're going to come into our hip flexor stretch. So in the very first test where you're hugging your knee into your chest, if you had tightness on the front of your hip, that's your hip flexors. So there's 2 muscles there, your psoas and your iliacus. And your psoas muscle attaches through into your lower back. So if you have any lower back issues, tightness in your lower back. It could be because your hip flexor here is tight because it's pulling on your lumbar spine into this arching back. But to do this stretch, what we need to do is remember what I was talking about with your hips tilting forward. So tilt your hips forward as if the water is coming out. You have an arch in your back. Then I want you to tuck your hips as much as you can, and you should feel a stretch on this back hip. So your left knee is under your hip, directly under your hip, and this right leg is out in front for balance. So tuck those hips up. If you feel a stretch here already, that's good. To deepen the stretch, raise that same arm of the leg you're stretching. So I'm the left arm, left leg. To deepen the stretch again, push your hips slightly forward. If you notice yourself coming forward like this, you don't have your hips tucked. If you're coming really far forward, you need to tuck those hips. Very good. We're going to hold the stretch here. What we're going to do is to activate our hip flexor. I want you to imagine you're pulling your knee forward into the ground to contract these, okay? So pull your knee forward to get a bit of a contraction here. So for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then your exhale to sink a bit deeper into the stretch. On your next inhale, you're going to pull your knee forward on the ground. And on your exhale, relax and sink deeper. If you want a deeper stretch on this, you reach away, so you can reach your hand over your head and just lean your body away. That's how to get the best stretch on this. And ease out of this. Swap to the other side now. So I'm going with my right leg on the ground. Right knee under the right hip. Go this way. Tuck those hips under. Push the hips forward. Feel the stretch in the front of the hip. Raise that right arm on your right leg. And breathe. So take a couple of breaths to breathe into this stretch. When you're ready in your own time, you're going to do your PNF. So I want you to do 3 rounds of this. So pull the knee forward for 5, relax, sink into it. Pull the knee forward, relax and sink into it. And then if you want, you can lean off to the side. So if you're cycling, if you do a good bit of cycling, your hip flexors are going to be very tight because you're in this flexed position for a very long time. That means they're tightening up. If you're sitting down, if you play football, if you're kicking, these are going to be tight. And when you're ready, you can relax into this. I'm going to show you one more variation of this that can bring in your quad, and you'll know if you've got tight quads or not. You don't have to try this one because it's a deeper one. But from here, to stretch your hip flexor and your quad, what you can do is reach back and grab the foot behind you with your leg. If you can't grab your foot, if your foot's only going to here, that's probably an issue with your quad and you have to stretch that. You can use a towel or something to help you. You can have a stick, you can use a stick for balance. Again, you should have your hips tucked and pushed forward. We're going to do 1 round of PNF here. That's where you kick your hand into your foot for 5. And then you relax, pull that heel into your bum. So that's how you get a really deep stretch in your hip flexor and your quad. Notice I have a pillow here underneath my knee for comfort. If you're on a hard ground, it's going to be sore. You can just swap straight around into the side. Guys, I forgot to say it was a small group there, so if you have any questions, feel free to shoot them in. Just with these hip flexor stretches, that pelvic tilt is very important. The length of time you hold, your stretches for depends on what the activity you're doing. If you're preparing for running, cycling, something like that, short dynamic stretching is good. But if you're doing a recovery session, long stretching, anywhere up to a minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes is good. That's recovery. And relax. So get rid of that pillow now. We're going to come into a long, deep lunge here. So what I want you to do is we'll step, we'll step back into a downward dog and move into it from there. So just push the bum up in the air and walk the feet out. And I want you to step your left foot forward between your hands. If you need your yoga blocks for your hands to hold you up nice and tall too, what I want is this back leg here to be straight. If you have a bend in this back leg, it might mean that these hip flexors need a bit of work. Try and keep that back leg straight. If you don't need your yoga blocks, you can come down to the ground. Push that right foot down into the ground. Activate the hip flexor. And on your exhale, sink deeper into this. Try and keep your back straight. You know, so my hands are sinking down alongside my knee. If you're feeling tightness in the left hip here or along your left glutes, that's good. So what you can start doing for this then is push your left foot into the ground. As if you're trying to stand up, push that left foot into the ground for 5. And on your exhale, sink deeper, bring your shoulder down below the height of your knee. You're sinking down into this. From this position, you're just going to step that left foot back into a plank and step the right foot forward. Bring your hands inside your knee, so not outside your knee, inside your knee. Straighten back into that left leg. Keep the body upright. If you need to, step this foot forward a bit. Just try not to have that knee over your toe for this one. A big, long step, very good, yeah, looks good. Straighten that back as much as you can. Use your yoga blocks to bring you up higher. Push the left leg into the ground. And relax, sink deeper. Push that right leg into the ground. And sink deeper. Lower the left knee down to the ground. Step back. And just rock back into a child's pose. Your bum comes to your heels, lower your head to the ground. And take a couple of breaths. Relax. Let's see what we're going to do now. Right. We're going to do a bit of a strengthening exercise here, and then we're going to retest some of our hip stretches. So I want you to grab your stick. So what we're working on here is hip abduction. Abductors are the muscles on the outside of your hips. So your TFL, which is here, and you have your glute medius and your glute minimus. They're just around here at the top of your glute. And what they do is they stop shifting of your hips. They help keep your joint socket in line. So when we switch these on, we'll have a noticeable difference in our internal and external rotation. So to do this exercise, you're going to need the brush. You're going to hold it in your left hand. You might be doing opposite to me. So hold the brush in your left hand, balance on your right foot, and just lift this left leg off the ground. Good. When you've done that, I want you to raise your right arm. So you're standing on your right leg, raise your right arm. Now, what you're going to be doing in this position is you're going to be tilting your hips up like this. So from side to side. So what I want you to do is try and lift this left hip. So push through your right hip. It tilts those hips. So imagine this is my hips are neutral. Push into my right hip. My hips are tilted. Reach into that right hand as high as you can, as if you're trying to reach the ceiling. And relax, straighten those hips. We're going to lift it again. So hips are neutral, tilt. So you're pushing into that right hip. If you're squeezing hard enough here, you should feel your glutes are switched on. Mine are definitely firing. Hold for 5. And relax, lower down. We're going to do 2 more then. Lift. Squeeze into that hip. Raise that right arm. Give me a thumbs up if you're feeling anything. Good, good, thank you. And lower, and 1 more. And lift. Really reach into that right hand. Keep this right leg straight if you can. And really starting to feel it now. And lower it down. Okay. So yeah, is that all right, guys? Everyone good? Yeah, sound? Right. Other side. Stick in your right hand. Stand on your left leg. So right now, my hips are level, and then I'm going to be tilting them this way then. So reach into that left hand above your head. When you're ready, push, tilt those hips for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Lower down. Level the hips. Lift again. Tilt. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Down. It's hard to talk when I'm doing this. Lift for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. My glutes are on fire. 2 more. Lift. Push into that heel. Keep that left leg strong and level the hips out. And last one. Lift, push, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and lower it down. Right, I want you to go straight onto the ground. Lying on your back. Bring your knees to 90 degrees. And I just want you to test your internal and external rotation. So bring your knees out and bring those feet out. Just notice how your hips feel, if they feel a little bit looser or not. I definitely feel my left is after loosening up there. Another test you can do on your own to take a picture, you can just look at this one, is lie on your belly, bring your heels up to 90 degrees and let them fall out. If you notice that like one leg is lower than the other, you're going to have to work on one of those sides. Lie on your back, test your hip flexor stretch, hug your knees into your chest. Test the other side. If you notice any of difference at all, if you feel a little bit freer from any of those, then that means that a bit of stretching will help you. There is a case where sometimes it might be someone's bones that are, it might be your bones that are stopping you, and less so the tension of your muscles. So it's called compression. So if you actually can't move any further, like here with my shoulder, that's not a stretch. I can't feel a stretch. What I can feel is pinching. So I can feel pinching in my bones. So that means my bones just won't let me go any further. Okay, so if you feel any pinching in your hip at all, it could just be that your bones won't let you go further. So don't try and push it. So it's important to know the difference between tension and compression. We have a little bit of time, so I want to do a bit for our adductors on the inside. So we're going to lie in a side plank position. On the left, we'll do a left elbow under your left shoulder. Feet are stacked up on top of each other, and you're in a straight line. This is to strengthen our adductors. We're going to do a little test. If you can't hold this for 20 seconds, Adductors is something you really need to work on. It should be high priority. 30 seconds, a little bit down. If you can hold it for a minute, you've got reasonably good adductor strength. Okay, so bring your right foot in front of your left. You're going to come up into a side plank. You're going to come up into a side plank position with both legs on the ground. Now what you're going to do is lift this. Basically, your left leg is off the ground. It's not holding you up. And the inside of your groins here should be working. We're just going to hold it for 20 seconds. If you can't hold it, if you feel any pain, stop. These are called Copenhagen holds. And relax down. So if you felt really weak on that, that's something for you to work on. We're not going to spend too much time doing that now. This is more learning for you. Go to the other side. Right arm under your right shoulder. Bring that left leg in front. Raise the hips up off the ground into your side plank. Keep the shoulders nice and straight. And take that right leg in. Your right leg has no use. And we'll hold it for 20 seconds. Try to keep good alignment. Try not to round forward the shoulders. Hips are out, up, and out. And relax. Okay. So we're going to move into a little bit more stretching here. Finish off. So to stretch our adductors on the inside here, you all know this stretch, stretching your groin in football. We're just going to do a seated version of stretching our groins. I'm going to sit. Make sure your hips are propped up nice and tall. This is called seated butterfly pose. Bring your heels or the soles of your feet together. Bring your heels as close to your midline as you can. A deeper stretch. Make sure you've got a nice straight back. Pull yourself into that position. On your inhale, sit up nice and tall. On your exhale, just close your eyes. And what I want you to do is place your hands on the inside of your knees. Gently push your knees down and push your knees into your hands. Create a little bit of tension. And on your exhale, relax into it. So you know the drill now at this stage. 5-second inhales for your tension. And then on your exhale, just sink a bit deeper into your stretch. You're going to grab the insides of your shins or your ankles, pull your hips forward, and now we're going to begin to fold over. And I want you to keep your back straight for as long as you can here. So your hips are upright. You inhale, then your exhale, you're just beginning to forward fold over this. Trying not to round the back. This movement is coming from the hips. There's a few other things I wanted to include. I just left them out. A couple of strength exercises. But what I'll do is I'll upload a few of them tomorrow onto Instagram. Or wherever. Yeah, I'll upload them on Instagram. You can check them out. And relax out of this. So we're just going to finish. What we're going to do is we'll finish off with a nice pigeon stretch to stretch out the glutes. I'll just come into a nice relaxation. So you can get rid of your pillow, you might not need this. To come into pigeon pose, we'll come into a plank first. So come into a plank on your hands. You're going to bring your right knee up towards your right hand. And you're going to swing that right foot across your mat to the other side of your mat and sink the hips back. So you're in a position that looks like this. And this is called pigeon pose. Change the camera angle. Right. So in pigeon here, one of the common mistakes with pigeon is people round their back to come deep into this. But what you're doing here is you're moving the stretch from your hip into your lower back. And if you have any lower back issues or any bulging disc or anything like that, that's going to have detrimental effects on your lower back because you're overstretching it. So what I want you to do here is try and keep it straight back. Now, if your foot is in close here, you're going to be feeling a nice stretch on the outside of your hip. The more you move your foot away from you, the angle of the stretch is going to change. So I'm nearly at 90 degrees there, and the angle of the stretch has changed. So it's up to you what you do here. So what I want is I'm going to stay here for a minute, close the eyes, relax into this one. Just keeping that back nice and straight. The lower back straight. It's all right if the upper back is a bit rounded. And I want you to breathe one really deep breath into that right hip. And on your exhale, just blow it out. Notice any feelings or sensations in your body. Notice any emotions. What's your body trying to tell you? Become aware of any resistance. Anywhere in the body, your eyes, your mouth, your jaw. Focus on the breath. Notice as you exhale, your body will sink deeper into the stretch. So take 3 breaths and come out. Slowly coming out of the stretch. Let your hips fall to the right. And just come out of this really gently. Sit back into a child's pose, and then we'll come up into your left leg. So come into your plank, left knee up to the left hand. Swing that left foot around to the right hand side of your mat. And sink those hips back. Be aware of the lower back here. Again, notice with each inhale and each exhale as your hips sink deeper into the stretch. If you feel any tightness in your right hip, that's your right hip flexor. Take a big inhale into that left hip. Big exhale, get rid of it all. Come aware of your breath. Feel the sensation of the air coming in, down into your belly and into your hip. Relax your face, your shoulders, your back, your legs, your hands. Take 2 or 3 breaths to slowly come out of this. Finish really quickly with just a very short reflection. Bang on 9 o'clock was good timing. So just close the eyes, sit down, lie down, whatever you want. Close the eyes, just tune in with how you're feeling, how the hips are feeling. And I just want you to reflect on 1 or 2 things that you might implement. You may not have learned anything, and that's fine. But if you've learned anything, maybe just think how you're going to implement that now in your life, in your training, in your day-to-day life, be it your inner work or your outer work. So guys, thank you very much. Really appreciate you signing up. I enjoyed doing it and making it, so I hope you guys enjoyed it. Has anyone got any questions or anything that they'd like to ask me? Because if you have a question, someone else probably has the same question. So other than that, thank you.
Thanks a million. That's great.
No bother. Thanks a million. How did the hips feel?
Good.
Yeah. Yeah. Was there anything? I just curious. So was there anything in any of the stretches that was painful or pinching or hurting?
The internal rotation, one of the first ones you did. But then when I did it after or at the end there, it still tight, but I didn't get the pain.
That was the one where you're lying on your back and you're doing this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Was that on just one hip?
Yeah, left hip.
Okay. Yeah. So for your left hip, then do this standing one. You know that one.
Yeah.
Do that one because when the physios, I picked that up off the physios when I was having my hip problems, and when the physios tested it, you can get someone to test it for you. Once you do that, the glute med work, it's nearly as if your hip bone gets sucked back into its proper place. So do that before a training section or a gym section or a run. Anyone else? Any other bending work for anyone, or anyone not feel anything? Or
I think that tilt in the hip, the normal one where you're on your knees and you're going forward, that makes such a difference.
Really?
Yeah, like massively. Yeah.
That's a good one. And the hip tilting is a good one because when you become aware of hip tilting, you'll know when you're sitting like this that I need to tuck my hips up straight. And because if we sit like this, and it could be, a normal couch or in your car, the more we sit like this with a rounded back, that puts pressure on the discs in our lower back, and that's how you get disc bulges. So the simple thing of just being aware of where your hips are can really save a lot of injuries there with the lower back. And it does, it feels class, it feels really nice. Any other questions, guys? No? Right, off to bed then. I'll send that out in an email. You can watch it back. If you have any questions, just feel free to hit me up. Like I said, I'm not working, so I've all my days are free doing nothing, so feel free to hit me up. And yeah, and come here, just one thing I'd ask of you is, I'm going to share something tomorrow on Instagram, and just as an energy exchange, as a thank you, maybe just share it, because I'm trying to start off this yoga thing, and the more people that know, the better. So I'd really appreciate that, guys, and thank you very much for turning up. So have a good sleep, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ryan.